The word cannibal probably makes you imagine monsters, wild people, dark rituals, ancient humans acting less human than you. But the real answer is stranger than that. Ancient people did not always eat humans because they were cruel. Sometimes they did it because they were starving. Sometimes they did it because they believed the dead still mattered. Sometimes they did it because an enemy was not just a body, it was a message. So the real question is not, why did ancient people eat humans? The real question is, what kind of world makes a human body become food, memory, fear, or power? Start with the simplest answer: survival. When hunger becomes extreme enough, the rules of normal life start to crack. You can know something is wrong and still be trapped in a world where every normal source of food has disappeared. Crops fail, animals leave, winter lasts too long, a group gets trapped somewhere with no safe way out. In that kind of situation, cannibalism is not usually the first choice. It is the last door left open. That is the version people understand most easily, but it is not the only version. In prehistoric sites, archaeologists do not find a written note saying this person was eaten because of famine or this person was eaten because of belief. They find bones, they find cut marks, they find breakage patterns. They compare human bones with animal bones and ask a very careful question. Were these remains treated like food, like enemies, like relatives, or like something symbolic? That is where the story becomes more uncomfortable. At Gough's Cave in Britain, researchers found human bones from about 14,700 years ago, with clear signs that bodies had been processed after death. Some bones had cut marks, some had signs of chewing, some skulls had been carefully shaped into cups. That sounds horrifying at first. But the strange part is that the people living there also had access to animal food, so this was probably not simple starvation. It looked more like a ritual, and that changes the meaning completely. If someone eats because there is no food, that is survival. If someone eats when food is available, the act may be saying something. Maybe it was about honoring the dead. Maybe it was about keeping part of a person inside the group. Maybe it was about transforming a body into an object with meaning. The honest answer is that nobody can know exactly what those people believed. Their words are gone. Their rituals are gone. Their world is gone. But the bones tell us this much: cannibalism was not always random violence. Sometimes it belonged to a system of meaning. Now compare that with another possibility: war. In some cases, eating another human may have been less about hunger and more about dominance. Imagine two groups competing for land, food, water, or safety. Killing an enemy already sends one message. Treating the enemy's body like prey sends a much darker one. It says you are not part of us. You are outside the circle. You can be turned into a warning. That may sound extreme, but human history is full of rituals built around enemies. Heads taken as trophies, bones kept as symbols, bodies displayed to frighten others. Cannibalism in some places and moments may have been another version of that same message. Not hunger, not madness, power. A researcher named James Cole asked a question that makes this even more interesting. If ancient cannibalism was only about calories, was a human body actually worth the effort? His analysis showed that humans are not especially good food compared with large animals like horses, bison, or mammoths. A large animal feeds far more people with far less social risk. So when ancient humans ate humans in places where better food existed, calories alone may not explain it. That does not mean food never mattered. It means food was not always the full story. This is the mistake modern people make. They hear cannibalism and imagine one explanation: savage, monster, crazy. But ancient behavior usually does not work like that. One act can have different meanings in different worlds. The same action can be survival in one place, punishment in another, ritual in another, and grief in another. There is even a form of cannibalism that looks less like hatred and more like love, at least from inside the culture practicing it. Among the Fore people of Papua New Guinea, a funeral practice once involved eating parts of deceased relatives. To outsiders, that sounds impossible to understand. But inside that belief system, the body was not just meat, it was family, It was part of caring for the dead. Some accounts describe the idea that it was better for a loved one's body to be consumed by people who cared for them than by worms in the ground. That does not make the practice safe. It helped spread a deadly brain disease called kuru. But it shows something important. Humans can attach deep meaning to acts that later generations find horrifying. And once you understand that, the ancient world looks different. Ancient people were not living in a clean modern category where food, religion, war, grief, and identity were separate boxes. Those things were often tangled together. A body could be a meal, a memory, a warning, and a sacred object depending on who the person was, how they died, and what the group believed death meant. That is why the question is so hard. Did ancient people eat humans? Yes, sometimes. Did they do it because they were less human? No. They did it because they were human in a world with different fears, different pressures, and different explanations for death. They lived closer to hunger, closer to violence, closer to the body, closer to the dead. And when life is that close to the edge, the line between food, ritual, and survival can become much thinner than it feels from the safety of a modern room. So the next time you hear that ancient people ate humans, do not picture monsters first. Picture a group in winter with no food left. Picture a cave where the dead were not simply thrown away. Picture enemies turned into warnings. Picture people trying, in ways that can disturb you now, to survive hunger, explain death, and control fear. The terrifying truth is not that ancient people were inhuman. It is that they were human enough to turn even the darkest act into a reason, a ritual, or a last chance to live.